sometimes in life, what we think is bad, what we think is not good for us, really turns out to be the best thing for us. We lose something and we realize, wait a second, maybe that was good. And something happens, Chas v'Shalom, that we think is bad, and maybe that was really meant to be for the best for us. We don't often see the flip side, how it was really good for us. And so we pray a lot to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He should get rid of Ro'a HaGzerah, the bad part of the decree. We don't ask Hashem to get rid of His decrees, because His decrees are good. We ask for Him to get rid of the bad part. What does that mean, the bad part? The part that makes it hard for us. Because we know that it's good, Hashem, but for now it looks really bad. A guy, he lost my job, well really in 10 years it means that because you lost your job here, you got a better job. But for 10 years I think that you're doing a pretty bad thing to me. So we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, show me the good part of the bad things. That way I realize they're not so bad. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does in this world is done for a reason. Rav Soloveitchik said once, or wrote once, that if you look at a tapestry, there's like a knitted pictures. It's in the front, it looks beautiful, but if you look at the back, it looks like chaos. It looks like a disaster. It looks terrible. Why? The back side is not what you're supposed to be looking at. That's, sometimes you have to mix this color and that color and switch around colors because you want on the other side to look right. So we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we hope one day we'll see your face, because remember that Hashem says that Moshe saw his back, but his front he didn't see. What does that mean? The back part. We see the world as chaos. We don't see the world in order. And we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help bring us to a point where we see the world how it's supposed to be seen. In many, many communities before Tefillah, we read a part of Tefillah called the Patach Eliyahu Hanavi Zechronato. It's a piece of the Zohar. And it's when Eliyahu Hanavi spoke to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and to his friends. And he says, Ribon Almi, master of the world. Antu ilat te'ilot v'sibat te'sibot. You are the ilat te'ilot, the cause of all causes. V'sibat te'sibot, and the reason of all reasons. You are the reason why everything happens. You are the cause for everything that happens. Nothing happens without you. We have this concept in the world of a Satan, a Satan, a dark side, bad things, evil things, and it's Christianity that created for us this dichotomy. There's good and there's bad, and they're always fighting against each other. So it's not true in Judaism. Satan is just an angel of Hashem. He works for Hashem's payroll. He gets a paycheck from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's nothing in the world that exists without Hashem. There's nothing in the world that fights against Hashem. But sometimes there has to be certain kinds of evil in order for things to be good. We don't always understand it. There's a person who breaks their arm. When they go to the doctor to fix it, what does the doctor do? They don't always put on a cast right away.
Do x-rays.
Sometimes they break it more. Sometimes the doctor knows that in this place where it's broken, it won't heal right. So he completely breaks the bone and then allows the cast to fix the bone. What do you mean? You're crazy? You're breaking my bone. Chas v'shalom, a person needs a body part to have an operation, something removed. What? Because they take away part of his body, it's going to be healthier? Sometimes yes. Sometimes there's a part of the body that's sick, and if we can get rid of it, then we can actually fix. There is such a thing. There's truth like that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the master of the whole world. There are all kinds of calculations that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has that we don't understand. But we rewind and we look back into history and say, oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what is it? What is it that you were trying to accomplish? And we could see everything happened for a reason. If you look on page 68 of the Chumash, Parashat Vayeishev, already HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us there. In verse 12, Vayhi Hashemesh lavo, the sun set. V'tardema nafla al Avram, and Avram fell asleep. V'hinei ema chashecha gdola nofelet alav, and a great, dreadful darkness fell on him. Vayomer Avram, and Hashem says to Avram, Yadoa teda, you should surely know, Ki ger yeh zaracha be'eretz lo lahem, that your children will be slaves in a land that does not belong to them. Va'avadum, and they will serve them. V'inu otam, and they will make them suffer. 400 shana. They'll suffer for 400 years. But don't worry, even those people that they serve, I will judge. And they will leave with great wealth. And you will come to your fathers in peace. And will be buried in good, ripe age. But from here we know that we never wish a person they should go bishalom. We always tell a person they should go lishalom. Whenever you find the term bishalom used, it's used to send a person off to death. Whenever the term lishalom is used, to go to peace or to go in peace. Lishalom, as we always said, lech l'shalom, go in peace, really means go to peace. That is the right way to send a person off, with a lamed and not with a bet. So you're sitting here in Lech Lecha, not so long ago. Abraham Avinu was promised your children will be slaves in Egypt, but don't worry, they'll get out of there bechush gadol with a great reward. And then you come to this week's parasha. And it's a crazy parasha. When Parashat Vayeishev. And let me tell you a little bit outside of the box. What is Parashat Vayeishev? Parashat Vayeishev is what Eliyahu Navi means when he says that Antu ilat elot v'sibat v'simbot. You are the cause of all causes. Watch what happens. At this point in time, what happens? Yaakov Avinu loves Yosef. Why does he love Yosef?
He's son of the oldest.
But does it make sense that a person should love one son more than another son?
Happens.
It happens. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell your kids. But it happens. Yeah, sure. It's a human thing sometimes when you're closer to someone than another. But this relationship turns into the fact that his brothers hate him. What happens because his brothers hate him?
You sold it?
They sell him to the Ishmaelim. The Ishmaelim bring him to Egypt. Now he ends up in Egypt. This is like the worst galut, the exile of exiles he could be in. They end up selling him to Potiphar. What happens in the house of Potiphar?
Wife?
His wife. What does his wife do?
Provoke him to sleep with him?
Right, she tries to seduce him. That's her whole thing. That she's trying to be with him. And when he doesn't agree, what does she do?
She said that he was trying to rape her or something.
So she falsely accuses him.
And then she says
Do you know what it's like? A person Chas Shalom should be falsely accused? I read recently about a guy who was 40 years in prison for something he didn't do. 40 years people are treating him like a criminal because of something he didn't do. So he goes to prison. Now he's sitting in a prison. It's not like a prison over here. You have a TV, 3 meals a day, workout hour. It's not like that. They probably threw him in some hole somewhere. Put him in some dungeon, in some cave, in some dark place. In jail, he makes friends. Which kind of friends does he make? The baker and the
wine steward.
Yeah, so the Sal Mashkin, yeah, the wine guy, and the guy who is the baker, the steward, is it a wine steward they call him? Who are these people?
the one that used to work with Parot?
They used to work for Pa'ol. Like, these are not little guys. These are, imagine you put the Secretary of State inside the prison along with Yosef. Now he starts making friends with him, and something happens, and in this place they have dreams. Who takes care of their dreams? Yosef. Because Yosef understands dreams. And then what happens? The Sar Mashkim, the wine guy, he gets released from prison, and where does he go?
Back to work.
Back to work.
Back to work.
Back to work. Most of the time, when a politician gets put in prison, he doesn't go back to his job. I guess some places that happens all the time. Sometimes they don't even go to prison in the first place. That's really the... But the Sar Mashkim ends back in his position, which again, this is only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing it, because why would you hire the guy you put in prison? And then what happens? Hashem causes Paro to have a dream, and Paro needs someone to figure out the dream. Then he is devastated, doesn't know what to do. And what does the Sar Mashkim tell him? I know a guy. Where do you know this guy from? In prison. Why were you in prison with him? I don't know why I was in prison with him, but I was there for a certain period of time, exactly as long as HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed me there. And then what happens? I had a dream when I was in prison. So I found, even if he was in prison with Yosef, but he didn't have a dream, he would never know that Yosef knows how to interpret dreams. So Hashem caused them to have a dream. Hashem causes Paro to have a dream. Paro having a dream is what connects the wine steward together with Yosef again. And they bring him out, and he saves Paro's dream, he interprets it, and Paro appoints him as the ruler over all of Egypt. Literally in 30 seconds, Yosef HaTzadik goes from being a guy in prison that nobody knows about, he was going to spend the rest of his life there, to leading the entire country. It's like, it's not just validation, it's validation with a reward. All those years people spoke bad about you, look, today he's the ruler, who's laughing now? It's a crazy thing. Because Yosef, if he would have walked to Egypt as some Jewish guy, tried to open up a business, raise himself, he would have never reached where he reached if Yaakov didn't love him. And then his brothers hated him. And his brothers sold him to the Ishmaelim, who sold him to Potiphar, whose wife, even if at this point, if he would have given in to Potiphar's wife, what she wanted, and he wanted, by the way, then the whole story would be over. Yosef will never end up. Yosef has to overcome this, and then he gets in trouble because he does something good. How many people tell me, I try to do a mitzvah, I try to do something right, but I get punished for it. You think you got punished for it. You think that because you didn't work on Shabbat, or because you ate this kasher thing, you think that you got in trouble. But really it's not true. Yeah, you end up in prison, but the only reason you ended up in prison was to make friends who were important enough to be close to Paro. So that when Paro would have his dream, he could take you out of prison and make you the king. I told you the story of Donna Grazia already. But Donna Grazia, when she's in prison, is in prison with people who help her get Turkish citizenship. And so what she thought was her sister sold her to the Inquisition, she comes out of there saved by the Turks and begins her life all over again. Sometimes the worst moment that we have, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, really, it's just the beginning of something completely new. Now, I'm not telling you something that you never heard of before. But the Torah is telling us that at this point, what happens? Paro becomes the head of Egypt, and now there's a famine. There's starvation. People are hungry. People don't know what to do anymore. And who's there? Who's there is Yosef. Yosef is the ruler. Who has to come to Egypt? His brothers. See what happens here? Yosef is promised that he's going to rule over his family. And that prophecy never happened. I mean, not only did he not rule over them, they threw him in a pit, they were going to kill him, he ends up a slave. You can imagine his whole life, Yosef is thinking, Hashem, you promised me something. You promised me something and you didn't follow through with it. What kind of betrayal does Yosef feel? Like, put yourself in Yosef's shoes. Why does he even go to his brothers in the first place? Why does he go to his brothers in the first place? Who sends him there?
His father.
Yaakov, his father.
To check them out, what they were working.
Now at this point, his brothers hate him so much. Lo yachlu daberon shalom. They couldn't even, when he said shalom to them, they hated him. They didn't even answer him. He could have told his father, I don't want to go. They don't like me. Go find another kid. And there's a lot of brothers. Why me? What happens? He goes. Why does he go?
Well, first he goes to this one place and there's an angel there.
Well, yeah, right, there's this man there that sends him. But why does he go?
To check him if the brothers were there, because they gave.
But he's going because his father sent him. But he doesn't. He doesn't like. These people don't like him. Says Rabbeinu Avraham and Rambam that he goes out of kibud avim. He respects his father. His father says go, he goes. But he can argue with his dad. His father said. So he in his head is doing a mitzvah of respecting his father. And what is the reward he gets for respecting his father? He finds himself in a pit with his brothers trying to kill him. Then he has one brother that likes him a little bit. So he decides to save his life and to sell him as a slave. You can imagine that? Who knows what's worse? Is it better to be dead or better to be a slave? You don't even make your own choices. Then he finds himself sold to somebody who spends her whole life trying to accuse him of things he didn't do. And then he says, you know what? I actually do want to do this, Avera. And he conquers his Yetzirah. And Hashem rewards him by sending him to prison. And then he becomes the ruler of Paro's palace. And how does Hashem reward him for that? He makes a famine in the land. The worst time to be the leader is when people don't have food. When people are suffering, who do they blame? The leader. So now he gets this reward of being the leader of Egypt only for the worst history, the worst period that the Egyptians ever had. But what happened?
Those 7 years came after this good 7 years.
Correct. So even worse. Maybe they would tell him that he mismanaged the funds of Egypt. But Egypt has them. Egypt has money. Egypt has food. Why? Because of Yosef. Meaning Egypt only exists because of Yosef. And who comes now down to Egypt?
Brothers.
His brothers. And at this point in time, Yosef HaTzadik is not just ruling over Egypt. He's not only the wealthy man. He's not only the most famous politician Egypt ever had because the Egyptians thank him and they bless him because they have food and nobody else in the world does. He's in a situation where if he wants to control his brothers, he is now the king of the world. What he thought was the worst thing in his life ended up becoming for him the best part of his life. Antu ilat eilot v'sibat sibot. Says Eliyahu Navi, you are the reason of all reasons. You are the cause of all causes. Why does it have to happen that way? That's already up to you to figure out. But it happens that way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there watching every single step of this process. The problem. This is the problem. You are given an island where several tribes live. By nature and culture, these tribes are exploitative and belligerent. This results in much suffering on the land caused by an island caused by war, poverty, and prejudice. So these tribes, they hate each other, they want to kill each other, and they're racist towards each other. They have been living this way for centuries without any sign of improvement. So you inherit the world, you take over for God, and all you have to take care of, not of the world, just of this one island. Hashem says, I need your help, take this island. Your assignment? You have to try to improve this society. You. To teach its members to live together in harmony and reduce suffering to a minimum or to eliminate it entirely. So your job is to re-educate these tribes, to teach them how to love each other so they can improve their society, to create a healthy society. Your resources, what do you have? What can you use? You have all the resources that a highly advanced technology can offer. You have everything. All the power in the world you have. You have the entire island under surveillance and you can see what is happening in any place at any time. So you have all the hidden cameras, all over the island is yours. You have such devices as cloud seeding equipment and you can plant underground explosives. Within reason, you can control weather, flooding, volcanoes, earthquakes, any natural phenomenon, so to speak natural, you're the one who could start it. They need rain, you can make rain. They need a famine, you can make a famine. They need a volcano to blow up, you can make it happen. You also have devices that can be used to implant ideas through subliminal suggestion. You can implant ideas to entire populations or to certain select leaders. You have some power to hint to people. You give them hints what they should do, what they should think, what messages they should live by. However, you must take into account the severe limitations of subliminal suggestion. If you try to implant any ideas that go against the basic nature of the population, they will be totally rejected and your efforts will be in vain. If you try to suggest to someone an idea that they completely don't believe in, they won't accept it at all. It doesn't make a difference how good of a suggestion it is. And so you think, okay, easy, so I'll tell everybody they have to get along with each other and that those colored people are just like you, but they don't believe in it. So it doesn't make a difference what you suggest to them. One alternative would be to implant ideas that somehow would make use of the acknowledged bad nature of the people. Okay, your restrictions. What are you not allowed to do as God? Under no circumstances are the natives of this island to be aware of your presence. There is no way in the world that anybody in this island is allowed to know that you exist. But you have a job to make it a perfect island. This supersedes all other considerations. So anything else in the world that might happen, you have to think first, they can't know that I exist. The culture shock caused by your revealing yourself would disrupt the entire fabric of the island culture. It would cause much suffering and more than offset any good that you could possibly accomplish. Something just happened with the camera, I don't know. By revealing yourself to the world,
It's someone's fault.
you could ruin everything for everybody. It would be a people go, this God, he made my problem, he made my marriage, he got me divorced, he got taken killed. It would make a disaster in everybody's life. the natives would be reduced to a state of almost vegetable-like dependence, upon which they could never recover. Once people know that Hashem controls everything, so they stop trying. So then you create a situation where all these natives on the island are not going to work. They're not going to try to plant food. They're not going to go hunting. They're not going to build houses. They're not going to get married, because they know that you exist. So you now ruin their life. But aside from this restriction, you have a free hand to proceed as humanely or as ruthlessly as you see fit. In short, you have the opportunity to play God. What would you do? The rest of his book discusses the depth of this story. You have to control the whole world without letting the whole world know that you're there. And you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be involved in everything that we do without us knowing that he was there, because if we know that he's there, we lost our freedom, our free will. We lost our choice. We lost everything. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu always comes shining through. Always. At a certain point, we find ourselves realizing that all of these things that happen in history happened for a reason. But there's something even better that you see in the story here of Mitzrayim. Very often you find that the people who are trying to destroy you are the ones who are making you greater. It's the people who think they're trying to kill you, trying to destroy you, trying to fight you, that they play into HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hands. Who made Yosef the ruler of Egypt? Really, if you think about it, who made him? Who pushed him on that road? His brothers. His brothers who couldn't handle that he was telling them, one day I'll be your ruler. They were the ones who made him the ruler. This happens throughout our history. Eshet Potiphar, who is trying to put him in prison, is really the one who makes her the ruler of Egypt. The Nazis, who worked ruthlessly to wipe out the Jewish people. Some could argue that many of the foundations of our having a state of Israel are due to them. 2,000 years, we wanted to have a homeland. All of a sudden, there are some people who think that, we can't let this happen to the Jews again. Not because they love us, because history is so ugly in their face that there's nothing they can say. And all of a sudden, the Jews find themselves in the land of Israel. Who brought us here? When you're in Israel and you see who's building up your land, you want to build a building in Israel, let's be honest. Who are you hiring? Arabs. The same Arabs that they want you out are building your house. You live in a crazy world. It's a completely different reality. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every step is being planned. But there's a problem here. And the problem is this whole story may not have had to happen. The Rambam looks at this story and he says, do you know the biggest problem with the story of Parashat Vayeishev? He said it's the father. It's Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu has a favorite child. And his whole family knows that he has a favorite child. For my wife, when she calls home. So her father might be like, oh, who's calling? He says, it's your favorite daughter. Now you're in trouble. Because now you're going to guess somebody's name, right? So by answering that question, you have to... So my father's like, I don't have a favorite daughter. He hangs up. Or else he'll guess somebody else's name on purpose just to make her mad. How do you have a favorite daughter, a favorite son? Says the Rambam, he actually writes this in Halakha, the Rambam. The Rambam says, let me find this quote. Tzivu Chachamim, our rabbis obligated us, Shelo yishane adam ben abanim, b'chayav, afilu b'dvar mu'at. So long as you are alive, you shouldn't differentiate between your children, even with something small. Shelo yavou lidei tacharut v'kina ke'achei Yosef and Yosef, so they don't come to fight with each other like the brothers of Yosef fight with Yosef. Why are they really fighting with him? What did he do? What did Yaakov Avinu do that showed that he was his favorite? Got him a special robe. A robe with stripes. Big deal. Go to Target, get your own robe. What's the big deal?
You only gave it to him.
You only gave it to him. There's actually a very nice thing in some big families. Like you go to New York, you go to Yerushalayim, you see big Jewish families. You see there's like 13 kids. They walk behind their parents like little ducks, you know. So, they're all wearing the same clothes. Why are they all wearing the same clothes?
You wanna do this?
It looks nice, one, but two, it really helps. Because if I have something that I think is nice, but you have something that I think is nicer, so then I get jealous of you. So we only buy clothes if everybody has the same clothes. Especially for certain, there are certain ages that children have, they're more jealous than other ages. You have to think about it. Sometimes Elchanan and Avinoam come to the car, and I don't know, Avinoam has an extra applesauce. He didn't eat it in his lunchbox. So, this is applesauce. He's hungry. He wants to eat. I won't give it to him. If I don't have something for Elchanan, Avinoam's not eating his applesauce. But it's not fair. So what?
I think it's a mistake.
Why? Because?
It's a nice idea not to differentiate, but in a way it creates competition when you do that, because you teach the kids that everything has to be equal. Otherwise, I think you need
She
to
sounds
give,
like my wife.
I think
There
you
are
need to
some
give-
toys in the house that Elchanan can play with alone. He doesn't have to share all his toys.
I think you need to give kids what they need, and each child needs something else.
I agree with you on that. I agree.
And if and Elhanan is not stupid, and he's not a baby, and he should know that you ate your applesauce 2 hours ago, and he eats his applesauce.
He's still a baby. 3 years old, he's still a baby.
Yeah, I know, but
Good, so for Rachel's sake, my wife sometimes picked up the kids from school. Yeah. I'm agreeing to say that I'm not perfect.
no, it's not
But-
perfect. It's I personally, I think that children needs to learn. By the way, they won't look at what they each one has when they understand that they got. It's like ze ne'ena v'ze eino haser. Like, what do you care what someone else is? You get what you need.
So why don't we say
You
the same thing about the brothers? I mean, for God's sake, these are not.
It's not.
These are not little kids. These are the
because it's not
shiftei.
about
Yeah.
it's not about the robe.
It's not about the robe.
No, Yaakov also had his bed at Rachel's tent all the time.
Okay.
So it was the treatment, not the robe. It's not the physical thing that Yaakov gave him.
But you find that the robe is an instigator. It's a big part of the story.
It's a symbol.
It's a symbol of this, and you're saying it's something so small. Listen, these are the tribes of Hashem. These people are going to end up being the leaders of Am Yisrael. They can't get over it that Yaakov Avinu makes decisions because he's a godly man. Because even the mother, so he chooses who he wants to have his bed with. So what? And why are they acting up? It's childish the way they're acting. Because how much can you expect from a person? How much expect the person is going to handle, and he's just going to be quiet? Even if he understands, but it still hurts him. I think that's what. I think there's truth to it. Because I don't dress my kids all the same. As long as they both have clothes, I'm okay. The Khan doesn't have to have an applesauce also. He has to have something. For me. I don't have to agree. But for me. You can't buy one kid a toy, another one not a toy. It's very hard.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's different.
But it's very difficult. Because sometimes you buy a kid a toy, he's 2. The other one buy a kid is 5. They're not the same kind of toy, but they all. Sometimes the 2-year-old wants a 5-year-old's toy, the 5-year-old wants a 2-year-old's toy. What do?
You could buy something, a little thing. As long as if you're buying for one, you buy for that. So you buy something even little. Something he says, okay, I got something too. But I think what you said, like if they each had their applesauce and he ate his already and he didn't, then it's a little different situation than buying. I think so. I think with the coat, it was just a culmination of probably years of their being jealous that he's being favored. It just wasn't something that came up at the last minute. It was a history of that, and that was like.
If you look in the Rambam, in the notes of the Rambam, in the laws of Pesach, there's a commentary there of Rabbeinu Manoach. One of the Rishonim. Rabbeinu Manoach writes, the reason we dip the karpas, the cilantro, parsley, celery, whatever you're using, into salt water, or really it's supposed to be lemon juice or vinegar. The reason we dip that into that is karpas means striped clothing. And we dip this clothing into something salty like blood to remind us the reason we all ended up in Egypt is because Yaakov Avinu chose one son over another son by this robe. the poskim give this robe story a lot of significance. Yeah, it may be the culmination, it may be the sign, it may be the, but still it's a problem.
Yeah.
The Rambam says a person has to be very careful. Very careful. You know, the Kehillat has a piece on children. This is a hard thing to control. But he says if it's possible for the oldest child to become a Talmid Chacham, it's best. Because if a younger child becomes Talmid Chacham and the older one is not, and he sees the way everybody respects the younger one, not him, his ego can cause him to do some pretty terrible things. How do you force someone to be a Talmid Chacham? It's very difficult. You can't. It's everybody in their nature and their personality, but this thing is true. I can tell you that it's true. There are a lot of times where, I remember the days in yeshiva where there were students that were younger, that were brilliant, like brilliant young students. And there were some older guys that have been there for 10 years, and listen, they were good, smart people, but not like the younger guys. And they were younger students of our parents that they were very jealous of. Who's this 18-year-old kid, thinks he knows everything? It's very hard. Our parents himself had this problem. When our parents came to Israel, he came without his parents. The famous Aliyah, the Moroccan, many Aliyot from Sephardic countries, they brought the kids alone first. On the way, they tried to get them to stop keeping Shabbat and all kinds of things like that. When our parents was in France for a stopover, they would get them ready to go work in kibbutzim and all kinds of things like that. They would make them work on Shabbat. So our parents said he was not going to work on Shabbat. This was, our parents was maybe 13, 12, maybe. He's not going to work on Shabbat. So they told him if he doesn't work on Shabbat, they're not going to give him food. So he didn't eat. There was one of the counselors, she was a young Sephardic girl. And she grew up in a house that kept Shabbat. So she used to bring him food sometimes. She would smuggle him, but if she didn't smuggle him food, he said he wouldn't have food to eat. Finally he makes it to Israel. And they had somebody there that arranged for him, they heard he was a rabbi's son, to go to yeshiva. So because he was Sephardic, first they put him in Panovich in Bnei Brak. The situation in Bnei Brak was so bad. The Bnei Brak at that time was like 10 trailers on a dirt road. It was not a city. Today you go there, it's like apartment buildings, stores, warehouses. It was 10 trailers sitting on a dirt road. And he was in the yeshiva there. The yeshiva didn't have food. The yeshiva used to give out every day tea, a slice of bread, and they didn't have rooms. People slept on a bench in the Beit Midrash. So that was it. Tea, no sugar, bread, and a bench. And it was so bad that at a certain point someone said, "Oh, you're Sephardic, you're a rabbi, your dad's a rabbi in Morocco. Let's bring you to Poat Yosef in Jerusalem." Poat Yosef at that time was very wealthy. Very wealthy Sephardic yeshiva. Today, I think things have switched around a little bit. They had rooms, they had food, they had meals. I mean, comparative to Bnei Brak, they were doing pretty good. And our parents took the tests there. He was 15 already now. And at 15 years old, they put him in a Rav Ezel Atiyat's shiur, the highest shiur. That's the one Rabbi Yosef studied in, Mordechai Eliyahu studied in. They put him in this class with a bunch of much older people, some people even married. And it didn't help he was Moroccan. Everybody else there was Syrian or Iraqi. This was pretty much the yeshiva was those kind of Saradim that had been in Israel for many generations. And he was an immigrant kid. He came without parents, without a support system. He was poor. He had one undershirt. That was his whole closet. And they used to make fun of him in the class. You immigrant, what are you doing here? They used to make fun of him. So he got up and he left. He went back to Bnei. They said, why would you go back to Bnei? Sephardic yeshiva, the glory of Sarah, da da da. Our parents said, I would much rather be with Ashkenazim who have derech eretz and not have any food than be with Sfaradim that are going to Gehenom and have a lot of food. No, I'd rather be with these people than those people. They didn't have much. They treated him like he was a nobody. So he ends up in Panovich, and that's where he stayed for much of his life. And it's almost 25 years he was there in Panovich. It's like the headquarters of Lithuanian Ashkenazi Jewry. So I'm going to tell you this. There's a reason I was telling you this. Oh, about being chosen, people being chosen. In that class, there were people very jealous of him. The reason they hated him was not because it made them feel bad. It made them feel like, I worked so hard, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, and I finally reached this very high class, and this little kid is going to come in here and he's going to... It's a problem. It makes people feel bad. You have to think about that when you set someone up. Some of these people think I had someone who their parents skipped him a grade. Whatever, the teacher said it was a good idea for this kid to skip a grade. This kid suffered the rest of elementary school because he was always in higher classes than he should be, and always at the top of his class. He was a very bright kid. And the people who were the age the class was supposed to be, I'm talking about like 8th grade, 7th grade, nothing, they hated him. They hated him because he made them feel self-conscious about him. He made them feel bad. Because how could this kid, who's supposed to be 2 years younger than me, how is he doing better than I'm doing in school? It's the same way when women started going to universities and getting degrees, and there is still, unfortunately, a world like this. Of men, how could she be smarter than me? She's a woman. Rosh Hashanah, you know, stupid men I know. I got a penny for every stupid man that I knew. I would be a millionaire. It could be them. Why not? Because it makes me feel bad. Because in my head, a woman belongs here on the dirt, and I belong here on some kind of crazy throne. And how could she be smarter than me? You know, welcome to life. It bothers people. Don't think it doesn't bother people. I have a person that I know. It's not a friend of mine. A person that I know. And his wife is very well educated, and she can make a lot of money doing what she does. But he won't let. He's a terrorist. Why? He'd rather be poor, and he bring in whatever money he can bring in, than his wife. He should live off of his wife's paycheck. You know what kind of ugly ego a person has like that? For him, first of all, he's losing. If someone could save her, someone should save her. But it's a pretty scary place. Why you live there? Why are you in that mentality? But there are people that see this. The brothers are looking at Yosef, and instead of saying, wait a second, maybe, listen, these brothers have been through Esav, been through Ishmael. I mean, they've seen some pretty crazy things. They can't maybe take a note, you know, maybe this is the brother that Hashem chose. Maybe our ego has to go to the side. Maybe this is the one that will lead us in the future. Why not? What could happen? But because I can't see it that way, because I didn't plan for it to be that way. You know, in Israel, we were praying for 2,000 years to go back to Israel. Mashiach should come, take us to Israel, build a country, build a Ben Mikdash, whatever we had imagined. And how do we get back to Israel? Some secular, anti-Jewish, anti-religious, anti-Hashem, secular Zionists, communists, socialists, start moving to Israel, fixing up the swamps, turning them into kibbutzim, building farms. They decide to start building the land of Israel. And there are some Jews that say, hey, this is not true. It can't be. It can't be that Hashem, he's behind all this. It can't be that Hashem, this is the way he's going to bring the redemption. Sometimes I wonder, who told you that you have the right to tell Hashem how to bring Mashiach? You know? HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to do it this way. Why? I have no idea, but he did it. Who are you to tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, sorry, that's not the plan that we had in mind for you? There are people that do this every single day. This is the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants in our life. I am where I am today. You are where you are today. We're all where we are today. Still we get mad at Hashem. Hashem, I wish I was somewhere else. Maybe instead of fighting HaKadosh Baruch Hu all the time, to tell Hashem, I'm here. Clearly you need me here. So then help me figure out, so what am I supposed to do next? What am I supposed to do with this information? Now that I know that I'm here and you need me here, what am I supposed to do? Our rabbis tell us that these brothers hated Yosef so much. They could not speak shalom to him. When he would say, hello, how are you? They couldn't answer. When he would tell them something nice, oh, I really like your sweater, they couldn't say thank you. They hated him so much. Didn't make a difference what he said. They were going to hate it. You see this today, you see this yesterday, you see tomorrow, you see this all over our history. That there are people that their hatred blinds them from seeing anything good. Anything. Even if it's really good, that they can't see it. And Rashi says, there's something special about our brothers. Something special. These guys, at least one thing you could say about them, mitoch gnutam, from their bad character traits, you could see ma'alatam, you could see their good character traits. They were not liars. If they hated somebody, they didn't pretend to like them. There are some people in the world that they hate us, but they pretend that they like us. Those people are very scary, because we don't know to be careful from them. If I know that you hate me, then I won't tell you things. If I know that you love me, I know that I can trust you. But if you pretend like you love me, but you really hate me, I don't know to be careful from you. You are putting me in a very scary situation. Rabbi Pinchas No. Yanai HaMelech tells his wife, tells her, don't be afraid of your enemies because they hate you. Don't be afraid of your friends because they love you. Be afraid of the hypocrites. That they do ugly things like Zimri, but they ask for reward like Pinchas. They do terrible things like your enemies to you. Behind your back, they'll kill you. But in your face, they want you to treat them like you're their best friend. Be careful from those people. Because how am I supposed to be careful from them? At least these brothers, Yosef, when he's going to the brothers, he doesn't think that they love him. He doesn't think so. And that at least says Rashi was good about them. They weren't liars. But there's something really sad about this. That even the good that he gave them, they weren't able to speak. They hated him so much. How many people like that do we know? People that we struggle with. But sometimes all they're trying to do is to build a bridge, to fix a relationship with us. But we can't give it to them. We can't even talk to them because we hate them so much. David HaMelech says, Ani Shalom, I speak in peace, Vehem ala milchama, but they speak to me in war. David HaMelech is by HaShamayim. David HaMelech and Yosef HaTzadik. If you compare their lives and the things they go through, they're very similar. They're both very righteous people that are in such terrible circumstances. Both of them start off nowhere. Both of them hated by their brothers. Both of them living in a crazy existence. And both of them end up to be the most famous rulers in the world. Something very special about these two people. A lot of psukim that you can use from Tehillim to back up the Yosef HaTzadik. But I think there's what to say about this. I think that there's something to realize that everything that happens in our life, that everything that goes on in our life, everything is for good. We don't see it, okay, we don't see it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted it to be that way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed it to be that way. Why? And that's the way Hashem runs the world. How many times do we lose one job only to get a better job? How many times do we lose one house to get another house? How many times do we suffer through something, suffer through a loss, and then something good came out of it? There's sometimes that we don't see it yet, so we have to keep praying that we see that yet. But it's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Antu ilat eilot v'sibat zibot. You are the reason of all reasons. The cause of all causes. And we should pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They should always help us see that in our life.